Life speaks. It speaks through struggles and success, through music and messages, the preconceived and the unexpected. Whether you are in the depths of the valley or in the midst of your mountaintop experience, everyone needs to be encouraged from time to time. Here we will share stories of strength, testimonies of triumph, verses of victory, observations, and information meant to touch the heart and uplift the soul, to keep you on your path of purpose and navigate this thing called life with power and authority. This is Andrea L. Hines, and I'm your host for When Life Speaks, here on ALH Broadcasting, an affiliate of the Streaming Inspirational Broadcast Network. I am glad you accepted the invitation to join us tonight. There's something in this broadcast just for you, and if it is going to be a blessing to your life, it will be to someone else as well. So share, tag, start a watch party, and invite someone you know to join us. Then turn down the volume of life and get ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Good evening, and welcome to When Life Speaks. I am your host, Andrea L. Hines, and you've tuned in to ALH Broadcasting right here, an affiliate of the Streaming Inspirational Broadcast Network. And I just welcome you tonight. I am glad that you are here. Let me tell you, it is a power-packed program. And if you want to, now would be the time to invite somebody. Share this broadcast, because I tell you, we've got some great information, have an absolutely amazing guest tonight. And this is just one you don't want to miss. I know that we say that a lot, but let me tell you, we have a guest who is absolutely amazing. And her story is, I'm just not going to tell you about it now. Let me catch you up on some housekeeping things. Okay. Good evening, Ida. Glad to see you. Hey there, Macy. Good to have you in the house tonight as well. First of all, I want to say a huge thank you to all of those who participated in a reading for His glory, whether it was through prayers, whether it was through your presence, whatever it was. We had a wonderful afternoon. Even the weather cooperated. We thought it was going to be a rainy day, but it turned out to be an absolutely beautiful day here in North Carolina. And I so appreciate everybody who was able to participate in that event. It was really a good time, and a little bit of it, little snippets of it are out there on Facebook. So take a look, and you'll know that we enjoyed ourselves immensely. And it was also the release of the two books. Yes, Masters of the Mask. And it is so. And these two books are available right now on Amazon or wherever you get your books from. And also, if you want an autographed copy, right now, these are being sold as a set. I don't know how long I'm going to do that, but for right now, you can get both of these books for one low price. And if you are interested, let me tell you, just send an email to speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. That's speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com, so that you can tell me how you want it autographed, and I will be happy to get those to you. So we're going to be doing that. And I wanted to give you a follow-up on Families Together. We had the acting executive director from Families Together, which is an organization that deals with putting homeless families into good living situations. And their target is to help 40 local families go from homelessness to stable housing. And she came on last week and she told us all about the organization and what they did and how they got it all done. But She sent me a letter saying, thank you so much for your support. We were able to raise an incredible $136,000 from 143 donors. They had a special triple match fundraiser going on last week. And we were able to get that information out to people. So they were able, in 1 week of giving, she says, we were able to help 13 families move from homelessness to a stable home. Now that may not seem like a lot. And I tell you what, there is the need is so great. It is so great. But whenever there is a triple match or double match or whatever they're doing, trust me, I'm going to be able to let you know so that you can participate in that, and the giving opportunity will be even greater. So I thank you, Jennifer Paul, for letting us know, giving us a follow-up. It's good when we talk about things and people come back and say, look, this is what happened, because you always want to know that the outcome is what you would hope. Now, the next thing we got going on, remember I told you that we're starting the second quarter with something big and great. And I thought the 29th was big and great. And we're going to end the second quarter with something even bigger and even greater. And we're going to do that. So on June the 10th, that is the day to make it count. It's a 5-year celebration of me being in broadcasting. And I tell you, we have been putting up things on Facebook a lot. If you do not have a flyer, if you do not have the information and you are interested in attending, be sure to either put in the comment section, I want to attend, or whatever you need to do. Speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com is also a good place to let me know that you are interested in attending so that I can send you all the details. You will see it popping up a lot during this month as we go into the time for the celebration. We have something special that we're doing for those people who purchase their tickets by May the 15th. We have a really, really special drawing for them. So if you want to be a part of that, you got to go on and get your ticket, so that you can celebrate with us. A lot of our previous guests are going to be there. Our favorite nonprofits are going to be there. We have a few vendors who are going to be there. And everybody needs to be able to just let your hair down, enjoy yourself for a little bit. And this is going to be a great time for that. So speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. Get you all the information that you need. But for tonight, oh my goodness, let me tell you about our guest tonight. I'm going to do my best to cover some, notice I say some, of her bio. This woman has done so many things. And let me get this here because I don't want to miss anything. First of all, she is an accounting management professional and a college instructor. She successfully defended her doctoral dissertation entitled Examining Perceptions of Domestic Violence and the Effects on the Workplace, a synthesis of selected companies in North Carolina. As a result of her research, companies have developed domestic violence policies and internal training programs, in addition to bringing awareness to the subject of domestic violence. And I didn't mention, but the work that she did on her dissertation, it's now published, and her research is referenced nationwide. She's a public speaker. She sought out and was hired by the U.S. Army, Armed Forces, to educate military personnel on domestic violence. That's a big deal, guys. She is a member, she served as a member of the mayor of Durham's Domestic Violence Task Force, serving as a chairperson for the Youth Division. She's a longstanding member of the North Carolina Coalition Against Domestic Violence and the North Carolina Coalition Against Sexual Assault. Durham Crisis Response Center and Families Living Violence Free. Durham Crisis Response Center and Families Living Violence Free. She has volunteered with them as a trained counselor and court advocate. It's really important. Very active member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the Charlotte alumni chapter. And let me tell you about some of the honors that she has received. She has been honored as the City of Durham recipient of the Martin Luther King Jr. Humanitarian Award for her courageous and humbling domestic violence service. She has also, these are the awards that she has gotten from the Achi magazine between 2017 and 2022. The Public Service Award, Woman of Inspiration Award, to Serve with Love Domestic Violence Advocate of the Year Award, and the Difference Maker Award. Look, I could go on. I mean, I have not even touched on everything that she has done, but this is what got me. With all of the things she's done that I mentioned and things that she's done that I have not mentioned, her bio says in her spare time. Where does this woman have spare time? In her spare time, Dr. Rigsby enjoys jazz music, hanging out with friends, traveling, and spending time with her 4 children and her 4 grandchildren. Our guest for the evening is Dr. Angela Rigsby, and she is a 30-year survivor of domestic violence who's turned her pain into passion. And let me tell you, it's you. I'm going to let her tell her story. She is not live with us tonight. We had an opportunity to interview earlier in the week, and I'm going to share that interview with you right after this break. So sit tight. We're going to take a break and a breath. And when we come back, you are going to see the interview that I had with Dr. Angela Rigsby. Hold tight. We'll be right back. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to When Life Speaks. If you are just tuning in, I'm very, very happy to have you. I'm your host for the evening, Andrea Hines, and this lovely lady sitting next to me, depending on how you want to turn your head, is Dr. Angela Rigsby, and I am so, so happy to have her with us tonight. If you got hearts, you can send them up. If you want to just say welcome to her, you go ahead and do that. It is a joy to have you, Dr. Rigsby. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. It is always a pleasure to be with you, my dear sister. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I tell you, you are such a busy lady. And there are so many things on your plate. And as I was reading in your bio, so many things that you are involved in and that you are doing when it comes to this particular issue. And I'm always glad to have you on. For those of you who don't know or who missed the very beginning, Dr. Rigsby was on with us very, very early in the early stages of When Life Speaks and my being on the air. And she was one of the favorite programs that we had that year. People were very drawn to what she had to say and the way that she had to say it. The issue of domestic violence, and she and I have talked about it many times, often gets overshadowed because it is coming at the same time as breast cancer awareness. Truth of the matter is, for both of those issues, there's never a good time or a bad time because it is an all the time kind of situation. People are getting breast cancer and we're fighting that issue every day. But the issue of domestic violence is so, I'll use the term severe, Dr. Riz, because I just don't know what else to say about it.
Yes.
And I know in one of the bios that was written about you, you said you turned your pain into passion.
Yes.
And I'll say you turned that passion into purpose.
Thank you.
Because there's so much that goes into what you do, into the way that you do it. And I want to give you the floor tonight, because I know that there are things that you can bring to light and bring to the forefront that will never be covered in a question. So I want you to just share with the audience, with the listeners tonight, how you came to be in the situation that you were in, and how you turned that around into an organization that is just doing tremendous, tremendous work. So I'll let you have it, sis. You go ahead and tell us what you want to tell us.
Well, my domestic violence journey started very young. I was about 20 years old. I started dating a young man, came from a very good home. His father was a pastor. His mother was a homemaker and a small business lady. So he came from a very good home. We began to date, and things were going well until some things started to happen that now I know were red flags, such as, his temper would flare up from time to time. And I didn't know, I saw it even in the dating. And what happened one night, we were at his cousin's house, and we were all hanging out, and as we did on the weekends, hanging out, just having a good time. And then all of a sudden, it was like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. His persona changed, his attitude changed. He quickly he rushed me into the bathroom, said, "Come here, I want to talk to you for a minute." Just really mean and nasty. Took me into this very, very small bathroom and began to argue and fuss and just really go off on me. And I'm standing there dumbfounded, not understanding why and what was going on. And the next thing I know, he hit me.
Oh.
And when he hit me, and I'll share my journey, but some things I'm not going to share because I'm in the process of writing my book, and all of the details will be in my book. So I'll encourage people to purchase that. But he hit me. And when he hit me, I was stunned. And, the relatives, people they came from the other room. And I just wanted to get out of there. I wanted to get out of there and get back home to my daddy, because I'm a big daddy's girl. I wanted to get home. So everybody was trying to figure out what was going on. They were trying to talk to him. He wanted to apologize, and I didn't want to hear anything that he had to say. I wanted to go home. And so I did. I went home, and at that point I felt like it was over. I was done with it. But then what I now learned to be, and as I, in my domestic violence journey, learned the honeymoon stage, the next thing I know, I was getting bombarded with phone calls of apologies, the tears, the I'm sorry's, what can I do to make it right? It'll never happen again. And as women, when we love hard. And we always want to look for the betterment in someone. So, of course, after all of the begging and showing up at my job with flowers, and I promise it'll never happen again, I took him back. We continued on dating, and it didn't happen again. For a while, it didn't. Next thing I know, he was giving me access to all, different things, his apartment, things like that. We ended up continuously dating, and we got engaged. He proposed, we got engaged, we got married, and the abuse had stopped. So I thought there was just one-time isolated event until after we were married, and then the abuse began again. And I went through a series of events where I was abused. I ended up in the hospital, abused when I was pregnant. And so it got to a point that I just said, you know what, enough is enough. It's time. I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of hearing the I'm sorry's, I apologize. So I made the decision that I was going to leave, and I did. And so a lot of people probably think, okay, she left, so that was the end of it. But that was not where the story ended. And that's not where the story ends for a lot of domestic violence there. And that's what needs to be understood. It is never, and I will say this over and over and over again, it is never good to tell a victim of domestic violence, just leave. Because when they leave, that perpetrator has lost their power and their control over them. So that is the most dangerous time for them, as it was for me. I had left, was actually living on my own, had my own apartment, was raising our daughter, was doing well until I saw him one day, and an incident happened where I saw him. He literally and actually ran me over with his vehicle and left me for dead in the middle of the street in front of Chicken Hut restaurant on Fayetteville Street in Durham, North Carolina. And at that time, I thought my life was over. When they got me to the hospital, they told my parents that I may never walk again. But glory to God.
But God.
But God. As they laid there and told me what my prognosis could be, I laid there and I prayed a prayer to God. And I laid there with my mother beside me and my father, close by. I prayed and I said, Father God, if you allow me to leave this hospital being able to walk and take care of my daughter and have the functions of my limbs, I promise you, I will continue to serve you for the rest of my life, because I was born and raised in the church. But I also promised God that I would be an advocate and I would be the voice for those dealing with domestic violence. So 2 days later, I was able to leave the hospital, able to walk, able to, have the functions of my limbs. And God blessed me to be able to do that. And I have kept my promise to him.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Yes, you have. I want to ask you something. There's a statement that you made, and I want to explore just a little bit. When you were saying that you thought it was an isolated incident because it didn't happen again for, a period of time.
Right.
Is there any such thing as an isolated incident? Does it, because it just seems like it's like it lies dormant and then something will trigger or something will happen. And you're kind of right back where you started.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do not think that there ever is an isolated event of domestic violence, because for an abuser to act out that way and for it to come in such a forceful way, that's something that's embedded, and that's something that, like you said, it may lie dormant, but at some point there may be something that triggers that person to cause them to react in that way. And I will also go as far as to say this: there is absolutely nothing that a victim can do or has done that I feel that they should take the blame for an abuser reacting to them in that way.
Now, how long was it after this happened to you that you decided, what direction you were going to take in terms of advocacy or in terms of starting an organization? Was it something that you decided right away? Did it happen over time that you said, you know what, I think this is what I want to do?
It happened over time, because after my situation, after that event where I almost lost my life, it took me a while to heal in my body, because I still had injuries. I had to go through a court process, which was very traumatic, and I had to deal with that. I had to deal with the fact that I was now going to have to co-parent with this person, and learn how to navigate through that. So there was a lot of different things that I had to do to be able to function just every day in that. So once I got to the point that I could function, I then started reaching out and looking for ways to be able to help others, in that situation. It started out with me volunteering at different organizations around where I live. I had a very, very good friend, Cheryl Dawes, that I met. She had written a book. She had went through some serious domestic violence, and she kind of helped me navigate, and she was like a mentor to me. So she helped me navigate what I wanted to do as far as advocating and getting involved. And it started out again with volunteering, because I needed to know the right way, the proper way to be able to assist someone. And that is something that's very important as well. People need to understand, you may want to help, and that's great, but there's a right way and there's a wrong way to be able to assist victims of domestic violence. Because understand, you not knowing the proper way and being properly trained, something that you say to them could end their life. If you don't give them the proper guidance, if you don't take the proper steps, if the proper planning is not done, you could cost that person their life. So it's a very delicate situation. That's why I even though I've been doing this for years. I mean, I'm still learning. I still take classes. I still get certifications. Just a couple of years ago, I went as far as to get nationally certified by the National Certification of Forensic Counselors to be a clinical certified domestic violence counselor.
Awesome.
I took some training with the Center for Legal Services, Legal Studies, to get certified as a certified victims advocate, so that you know what to do, what not to do, and to continue to learn different skills and different ways to be able to assist, but to do it the right way.
Doing it the right way. It's so key. That is so key. Now, Dr. Risby, we often and we know and we hear a lot about the stories of what happens, the trauma associated with it. But we also know that it's not just a woman's victimization.
All right. Absolutely.
There are men who are in the same circle, if you will. Most of the time we don't hear about it,
Right.
but I know sometimes we do. Have you encountered, or I'll just say in your experience, if you have encountered dealing with a male who is a victim of domestic violence, how different is the dynamic? Or it may not be different at all. It may be, as you were saying, getting the right help and knowing how to help. How different is that?
It is different slightly, because with men, they don't report it a lot of times because they don't want to be stereotyped. They don't want to be looked at as weak. They don't want to be looked at and put all kinds of different names upon them. And a lot of times they don't want it, like I said, they don't want to be stereotyped because, they may be looked at and say, well, how is this? You're a man and you can overpower her. How are you allowing a woman to treat you like this? And it is different because when I deal with a man, and I have counseled with men, when I do that, the first thing that I want to do with them is reassure them that this has absolutely nothing to do with your manhood. You are still a man. You are still a strong king. You still deserve to be respected and treated as such. We have a lot of women that will utilize and take advantage of the fact that they are a woman, and they'll do certain things to, physically abuse a man, take his property, or try to entice him to abuse them so that they can cry wolf or be the victim, so that they can, deflect and flip the script on them when they're actually the aggressor. I've actually had to counsel with women that have been the aggressor and the perpetrator and say, let me tell you, get really, really real with them and say, let me tell you something. You have absolutely no business putting your hands on this man. You can go to jail and you will be charged with domestic violence, just like if the tables were turned. So I always want to assure a man that you are still a man. This has absolutely nothing to do. You are not weak. No one wants to be abused. No one wants to be mistreated. No one wants to be disrespected. And no one wants to have the threat of going to jail over their head, where they have a woman that may be the aggressor or the perpetrator trying to instigate and pull something out of them to get them to act in a way that they really don't want to. So yeah, it is slightly different, and I do spend that time encouraging them and reassuring them in their manhood.
Let me ask you this too: when you first got into this, did you have any idea that it was as widespread as I'm sure you found it out to be, as you deal with, the different organizations and everything from corporate America to the police department and things like that? Did you realize how far-reaching this was?
No, I didn't, because remember when I got involved with this was 30 years ago. So back in that day and time, when I had my situation, we didn't have cell phones back then.
Oh, that's true.
We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have the technology that we have. Domestic violence was not looked at, and it was not talked about as it is now.
Mhm.
Back then, it was a situation, and it was basically you were taught what happens in your house stays in your
Oh
house.
my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And women were taught, well, if that is something that's going on between you and your husband, you keep that in the house. You don't talk about it. Well, what did you do? What did you do to cause that? What did you do to make him react like that? Well, maybe you need to change how you do certain things. So it was always brought back on us as if the woman was the issue and we were the problem.
Right.
So no, it wasn't talked about, because at the time that I had my situation, when we went to court, the charges that he was charged with were if I was to compare it between then and now, it's very, very different. Very
Mhm.
different.
Mhm.
So I did not know it was as widespread, but then as I began to get into it and do advocacy work and volunteer work, I realized that this is a widespread problem and we need to bring awareness to this. Situations that happen on people's jobs, where certain situations that happen between couples, we now look at it and we now have things that we can put in place to help them and to protect them. But in my journey along this road, back then it was like, okay, employers didn't know what to do. They
Right.
just felt like, oh, that's a situation that's at home, so you need to keep that at home. And then the woman was at risk of losing her job and things of that sort because the situation may spill over at home. Well, thank God for our dear now President Joe Biden. That was he spearheaded the Violence Against Women Act, and he put things into place and he pioneered the laws and things that protect women on their jobs and help them navigate through the process to give them the resources and the help that they need.
Wow.
Because back then, those kind of resources they didn't know about it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You mentioned something that in early on when we were talking about things to never ever do, and I think that is, I'll just say I think that's what's very important, what's most important, because nobody wants to see anybody go through that. And I know when I was in that situation, not nearly on the level that you're speaking about, but I remember that was one of the first things my mother said to me. What did you do? What did you do? What did you say?
Yes.
What are some of the things we should never, ever do other than that? When we know that somebody is in a situation, they may have shared it with us, or we may have seen evidence of it. But what is other thing? And you're talking about a then and now stage. Then it was you stay no matter what.
Right. And it's funny that you say that, because when I was initially going through my domestic violence situation, I went to a woman that I considered a sister in the Lord, and we worked together. And when I went to her and shared with her what I was going through, she actually said to me, well, you need to stay and work it out, because God doesn't want you to leave your husband.
Yes. Wow. Yeah.
And after I quickly told her, and God loves me enough, if I am made beautiful, if I am wonderfully and beautifully made, and I'm made in his image, God does not intend for me to stay there and keep getting my head beat in either.
Right.
So what I would say is things not to do. Don't try to take control of that situation. Let the victim vent. Let her share with you. You tell her, okay, what can I do to help you? Find out what resources are available. Offer her those resources, and then it's up to her. She needs to make her final decisions, because what you have to understand is we're dealing with a woman that has someone else is taking power and control over them. So you want to, as an advocate and someone to help her, give her that power and that control back, and allow her to make her own decisions, because no one knows her situation better than she does. So you have to allow her to make her own decisions. I would also say, don't make her feel guilty about if she leaves and goes back. Don't make her feel guilty, because that happens. I see it all the time. There's been times that there's one particular young woman that I think about. I helped her. I considered her as a daughter. When I got the call and went over and helped her, the boyfriend had drugged her by her hair. We got her help, got her out, got her situated. She went back, got her to a point that at one point she wanted to leave and go back to where her family was in a different state. Got her in a different state, took her to the airport, got her there only to find out that she did not go. She came back, went back to him, and got pregnant by him again. So you talk about frustration, but what can you do? You have to allow them to make their own decisions, because years pass, it continued to happen. And when she did leave and finally left, she left and she stayed gone. So you have to allow them to make their own decisions. And no, there is a possibility that they may go back. That happens. Statistics say that a woman will leave and go back 7 times before she will stay gone. And you can't down her for that. You can't make her feel bad, because when she called me again, after she left, got pregnant, went back, she called me again. I assisted her again, brought her to the city that I now live in, brought her up here to Charlotte, from where she was, brought her here, put her up, got her resources, got the kids enrolled in school, did all of these things, got her all of the resources. She was on her way. She was good to go. Only for me, again, to go to the hotel that I had her put up at, go to the hotel it was around Christmas time, take the Christmas gifts, went to the hotel, everything was gone. She had called a friend. She had took everything, even the food that I had bought them, took everything and left, went back to Durham. So
how do you manage? How do you manage to detach? Because you're not just someone who sits by and says, go here, go there, make this call, make that call. You get involved. You get involved in these people's lives. You don't make their decisions for them, but you're involved in their lives. How do you detach from the possibility of that outcome? Because that's always there.
It's always there. It's always there.
Go back. How do you do it?
It's not easy. It's not easy, because this young woman, I consider her a daughter. She has children. I look at her children as my bonus grandchildren. It's not easy, and it hurt. This work, you have to have the right anointing. You have to have a call from God to do this work.
Yes.
Because as you stated, I don't sit behind a desk and just do this, do that. I am in the trenches. I have been shot at. I have been threatened. So I'm in the trenches with them, but I had to get to a point in my life, because it was weighing on me, and I did take it on, and it did get stressful, but I had to get to the point to say, as a woman of God and as a woman of prayer, pray over them, give them to God, do what God has called me to do. Pray over them, keep them lifted, let them know I love you, I'm praying for you. And when they make whatever decision that they make, cover them and the kids in prayer, and release it and let God do what God needs to do, because I can't carry that. If I carry that, then I would be a basket case all the time. But that does not mean that I don't feel. I feel, I cry, I get frustrated, I get, because I'm in the trenches. So when I see some of these other organizations that get all of this money, all of this funding, and they just got people on the phone talking and pushing paper, it irritates me, because I'm like, when you have the grassroots organizations like myself and other organizations that are in the trenches with these people and in the trenches doing the work, the hard work, and down in the nitty gritty, it's hard, it's difficult, but I have to, I pray, like I said, I pray for them, I love on them, and I let them go, and I let them know, if you need me, I'm here. Yeah. And it has been hard, because there's been times that some of those same people have come back, and you kind of be like, listen, the one side of you is like, look, I'm not fooling with her no more, because I know what you're going to do. I'm going to sit up here and go out of here and go all out of my way and help you. And then you're going to go right back. But then that other side, but I quickly turned that off, because then I'm like, you know what? If I don't, this would be the time that something tragic would happen. So I always put their safety, their life, and the lives of those children in the forefront of my mind.
Mm-hmm. And let me ask you this: you've got all these things going on. You've won awards and the things that we talked about earlier before you came on the line. But I heard something here this evening. I heard a hint of something in progress. Give us a little sneak peek about this book that's coming. You know where I was going.
Yes. Well, I've been trying to write this book for years. It's been well over 30. I look back at it, and when I look back at my notes and my journals, I've been trying to write this book, and God told me to write this book over 13 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I had not taken, I just did not. I didn't feel like it was the time. And just, let me just be honest, just being downright disobedient, just not doing it. So I call a spade, even on myself, just not doing it. But I know why now I didn't do it, because there was still some healing that I needed to do. Mm-hmm. And I understand that. And I know that when God speaks to us, it's all in God's perfect timing. Right. And now is the time for me to do it, because I have, taken some time to do even more healing, even just recently, because sometimes, you get healed, but you got to stay healed. And I have been healed, but some things could come up that will trigger you. Yeah. And when those things come up to trigger you, it can take you back to some places. And, so in learning that about myself, I'm like, okay, these are some areas that I really still need to heal in. And this is going to help someone else. So now was the time, because it's all about healing. It's about me sharing my truth. It's about sharing my life. There's going to be some, I'm really sharing a lot of details about things that happened to me, even as a young girl, that I never shared before, because I was suffering in silence. Mm-hmm. There were things that happened to me that my family didn't even know about, because I had to suffer in silence, mm-hmm. Because of fear. Mm-hmm. So now is the time, because God has released me to do that. The healing that I needed to complete has been done. And now is the time, because I know that what I'm going to share about different things that have happened to me is going to help heal some other people. Mm-hmm. So I'm anxious about it. I'm nervous about it. I'm excited about it. And I'm thankful, because it is my truth. It is my life. It is all truth. Nobody can tell you, and they tell you, nobody can tell and speak your truth like you can.
That's right.
And most importantly, no one can tell you not to speak your truth, not to say X, Y, and Z, because it was your life. You lived it, you experienced it. And I had to ask God, why did these things happen to me? Why? And learning, and on our spiritual walk, we understand and know that God allows things. He doesn't cause things to happen, but he allows things to happen. So because it's going to be a blessing and a help to someone else. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited. I'm constantly, I'm writing, rewriting, looking at it, revising and rewriting. So my goal is to have it finished and published by summertime. So it's been, and that in itself, just the writing in the book in itself has been therapy. It's therapeutic.
Writing, yes,
It's
absolutely.
very therapeutic.
Absolutely.
I,
Absolutely.
I've always written in journals. I've always written in diaries. And when you go back, and when I go back and capture those feelings that I was having at that moment, when I was going through the things that I was going through, and I sit back and I'm like, I know I'm not the only one. And God shared that with me. God revealed to me what I'm calling you to do. It's not for you. It's not about you. It's about who it's going to touch and who it's going to help. So if it helps one person, if it touches one person, then my job and my mission will be complete.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listeners, let me tell you, this beautiful lady is going to be part of our Make It Count celebration. She is going to be there.
Yes.
If you want to meet Dr. Rigsby, I tell you, she will be there on June the 10th. And
Yes.
you already have the information. I encourage you to get your tickets early because she is a wonderful advocate. She is a wonderful leader. She is a wonderful influencer, and she's just a good person.
Thank you. Thank you.
Person.
You and I have always had a special connection.
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
always blessed and always willing to come and be with you and share with you and tap into that expertise that you have in writing books and things of that sort. So I also look at you as a mentor and someone that I
Well,
glean
thank
from.
you.
So I'm very, 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 very thankful and very blessed to have you in my life.
Well, thank you so much. And I feel the same way, Andrea. I am in awe of all of the things that you are able to do and able to do with such integrity and such love. Because at the end of the day, that is what is important.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being with us tonight. Do you have any final comments for our listeners?
I just want to say to anyone that is going through or dealing with domestic violence or knows someone that is going through domestic violence, I'm sure you have my information. We'll share my information. Please get in contact with me if you need help, if you need guidance, if you need some pointing in the direction of the right resources. But I just want to say to anyone out there that is listening, if you're going through domestic violence, just please know you are not alone. You're not alone. You do not have to walk this journey alone. You do not have to walk this journey by yourself. I promise you, your life means and matters so much more than what you're going through. And whatever you're going through, if you need someone to talk to, if you need someone to vent to, that is completely confidential, please get in contact with me. If you need resources, I will help point you in the right direction. If you need someone to walk with you and hold your hand through this journey, I promise you, I will walk with you and I will not let you go. I will not let you go through this by yourself. So if you need me, please, please reach out to me.
And they can reach you at what's your website?
The website is www.healingafterdv.com. You can reach me on my cell phone number, which will, that's on the website. You can reach me on my email address. That's on the website as well. Dr. Angela Rigsby, and Angela is spelled Angelia. Last name Riggsbee. So my email address is Dr. Angela Rigsby at gmail.com. Please reach out to me. I will get back in contact with you and we will walk this thing out together.
All right. All right. Dr. Rigsby, thank you so much. You guys, thank you for listening and hang in there for a minute. We're going to let Dr. Rigsby go and we will be right back.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Boy, I tell you, I just had to take a deep, deep breath after that interview. I am so thankful. We always say that everybody has a story. It just depends on whether or not they want to share it. But let me tell you, the next time you hear somebody make the statement, I don't look like what I've been through. Think of Dr. Rigsby because she has really, really, really been through in her own journey. and in helping and being an advocate for someone else. If you know anyone who might benefit from the information that was shared here tonight, this program is going to be replayed on Saturday at noon, this coming Saturday at noon. Be sure that you share it. Be sure that you encourage someone to listen to it, because there's a wealth of information and inspiration and hope that someone can gain from this interview tonight. Dr. Rigsby, thank you again. And like she said, she's going to be there with us on June the 10th. So if you want to meet this wonderful woman, you can at that time. I apologize. We ran over tonight, guys. Didn't mean to do that, but I did not want to separate this or segment this. I felt like it was too important an issue not to allow her the time to really, really share it all with us. So that is it for us tonight. I'll be right back here next week at 7 p.m. You know, this is the place to be on Thursday evenings. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. And remember, when you come back, be ready to turn down the volume of life and get ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Good night, everybody.